Hey everyone, Dr. Ashley here. As always, thanks so much for tuning into the channel. Today's topic of conversation is going to be the big bad A word. That's arthritis. Many people deal with it. However, there's many things that are misunderstood about the diagnosis of arthritis. So why not dive a little bit deeper into some of those common misconceptions so that you can learn a little bit better about how to take care of yourself if you are dealing with arthritis. So let's get started. So what really is arthritis? It's not just an old person disease, and it doesn't just affect people because of wear and tear on their joints. There's actually over 100 different types of arthritis that can affect the human body. Yes, we normally see changes in our joints first. We get achiness, maybe swelling, redness, pain, all of the above, but that doesn't necessarily put you in for a death sentence. There are things about arthritis that need to be understood, and that's why I'm here today. The biggest thing with arthritis is making sure that you do get diagnosed with the type of arthritis so that it can be managed well by a medical provider. So make sure that you follow up with your rheumatologist if you are dealing with arthritis. However, let's get started in learning a little bit more about how you can take care of yourself and some common misconceptions about arthritis that are often put out there by other people, and some myths that we can kind of solve just by doing some small little things. So let's get started. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below. I think I may have already said this, but what you need to remember about arthritis is it is not just an old person's disease. Arthritis can happen at any age, and you have to remember there's a lot of different kinds. So that's why I did say you need to make sure you get diagnosed correctly. If we look at some statistics, okay, if we look at things that have been thrown out there by the CDC, we see that 50% of people over the age of 65 have some sort of arthritis. If we're looking at 45 to 65, 30% of people, and if we're looking at anyone over the age of 18, and that's 18 to 45, there are 7% of that population that they took who did have some sort of arthritis diagnosis. Arthritis is a disease across a lifespan. It's not just due to wear and tear on the joints, and it's not just due to age. However, sometimes it can be seen as a part of the aging process. So just remember that just because you're young or just because you're old doesn't mean that you are either not going to have arthritis or you're going to have a body full of arthritis. It can happen to anyone at any time, and it's not always going to happen to you, or it may just happen to you. So let's get started a little bit more in talking about how to properly manage your arthritis and some of the things that people often think that need to be changed. Well, folks, let's talk a little bit about pain. People with arthritis are often in discomfort. However, they typically blame their arthritis for all of their pain, forgetting that our body isn't just made up of bones. We have connective tissue, we have ligaments, we have muscles, we have tendons, and we also have nervous structures that all play a really big part in pain signals and how they're going and kind of being transmitted throughout our body. All pain isn't from arthritis, and sometimes it can be more mechanical or maybe not mechanical. So we have to think about that when dealing with pain. That is why I always say when you are in discomfort, get an evaluation by a physical therapist or chat with your doctor a little bit about it to see, hey, what do you think if I try this movement or say some type of exercise instead of just opting for the worst case scenario. So remember, just because you're in pain doesn't mean it's always from your arthritis. You have to remember the rest of the structures in the human body. There are also other things out there that contribute to pain, and believe it or not, these are big things. Recovery strategies, so how well you're sleeping, how well you're eating. Weight can also be one of them, and we also have to remember that stress is a big part of pain in our body and how our brain processes pain and relates it to the rest of our body. So think about those a little bit, and let's get started in talking about movement and how movement can actually be very beneficial to arthritis, and it's not always something that should be negated when you are dealing with some type of joint pain. People often think that living with arthritis pain is something that they're going to have to do forever. However, there are things that can be done to help the pain associated with joint damage and with that arthritis type of feeling that you have regularly. One of the biggest things that we have people do is get stronger and keep moving. If those two things are not done, then typically what we see is people who were once active become inactive simply because they were afraid to move through a little bit of discomfort. When we're working through pain, one of the biggest things that we say is that a discomfort of 0 to 4 is okay to keep moving through. So keep that in the back of your head, and sometimes it may take you a little bit to get there. Making sure that you keep moving with arthritis discomfort is extremely important. You don't want to become that creaky old door that you haven't gone through in forever, and then all of a sudden you go to open the knob or you go to pull the handle and the door doesn't want to open. Our bodies do work like that. We have fluid that actually likes movement, and sometimes if you sit idle for too long, the pain gets worse and worse. Also, if you sit idle for too long, your muscles weaken, and your muscles are actually what help support your joints to make sure that they can move freely and move a little bit better. So don't forget about movement if you're dealing with arthritis pain, and don't always think that arthritis is a death sentence, because if you keep moving and if you have someone out there who's going to help you do so in the proper way, you're probably going to be in a little bit better shape. So that about wraps up my talk on arthritis. So let's sum it up a little bit more. So what are the biggest things that you need to remember or know about arthritis? The first thing, arthritis is not just an old person's disease. It can happen at any point throughout the lifespan, no matter what age you are. And think about it, there's over 100 different kinds that affect the body in different ways. Some affect muscles, some affect tissues, some affect organs. So you should go get diagnosed appropriately by, say, a rheumatologist, or if you work with your PCP, they can certainly help you. The second thing about arthritis is the joint pain or the joint changes are not always the cause of your pain. You have to think about the other structures around it. You have muscles, tendons, ligaments, and nerves, and also external factors such as the stressors of life that play a big part in your pain. So think about that. And if you're realizing that certain movements are a little bit more achy than others, maybe get checked out by your local physio to see if they can help. The third thing and the last thing that I always talk about is movement is key. You need to make sure you're moving appropriately in a graded fashion. You don't want to jump into things too fast. The reason being is then you may be a little more achy for a prolonged period of time. I often see people with arthritis who are dealing with it and have been dealing with it for a long period of time become less mobile than they used to be. And that may be likely. However, if you do take care of your body, you do work with somebody, and you stay as strong as you possibly can, you should be able to keep moving well. Even if you need something such as a joint replacement, you can move better, you can do things, and you can keep your life going even if you've been diagnosed with arthritis. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's harder than others, and yes, certain types of arthritis are worse than others, but these are some general recommendations for the populations who are dealing with your general osteoarthritis and some joint changes over the lifespan that are gonna help keep you healthy. So as always, if you have any questions about any of this, don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll be back soon with some more information.